Flosstube, it's Arlene here. It is Saturday, July 22nd, 2023. I'm back here to share with you all about Stitch NJ, which is the stitching retreat that I just hosted, ran, organized, all those words, that happened this past week. If you are new here, welcome. If you're returning here, welcome. If you've stumbled upon me because you were searching like hashtag Stitch NJ retreat, thank you for being here. I'm just so glad to have the opportunity to share and have this venue to be able to share with folks in this, when you spend so much of your life so focused on something for a period of time and then it's done. And then there's this like down that happens afterwards, but you still want to like share with people about it. So I'm so glad I have this opportunity through Flosstube to do this. I do need to start the same way I started my last video because I'm working on it. So if this may be a repeat if you saw my last video. I have been told in the last few months that my Flosstube videos for some people have been producing an incredible number of commercials. And I just need to let you all know that is not my doing. I am not monetized, and what that means is I have no control over commercials. It used to be on Flosstube, on YouTube, that if you weren't monetized, there were no commercials. Well, YouTube changed that. To get monetized, you need a certain number of subscribers, whatever that number is I have, and you need a certain number of viewer hours within the last, I don't remember the period of time, whether it's like 6 months or something, and I'm not there yet. So if you can help me out by, even if you're no longer interested in what I'm saying, just let it run somewhere. Go into another room, read a book, go do stitching. If you can help me build up those hours and then I can monetize, which is not for the money, but to get control over the idea that, all right, put a commercial at the beginning, commercial at the end, and nothing in between. So if you can help me build up my hours on this video or any of my videos, I greatly appreciate it. I appreciate the little bump in hours that happened when I gave this same little speech a few weeks back. And let's continue, folks, because I hate commercials as much as you do. And just to repeat, I have no control right now, but we're gonna do this together, right? Right? Okay, so that was important to kind of start out with. So last week I had my 4th retreat that I've organized. Although I like to say I've planned 6 of them because I had organized them to a certain point and then canceled in 2020 and in 2021. But my first retreat was in 2018, and that was soon after I'd found the Flosstube community. And I loved this idea, this community that I'd found online and wanting to bring people together. There were already a couple retreats that I'd heard of that, let's say, fall of 2017, and I thought, well, I can do this. I have the organizational skills to do this. So 2018, had a second retreat in 2019, again, canceled 2020, 2021, came back strong last year in 2022, and just last week had 2023. I started this retreat thing, again, the spirit of Flosstube, and so I'd called it the New Jersey Flosstube Retreat. And by the time we got into 2022, it felt bigger to me. To me, Flosstube is not just about the people who make the videos. It's also the community of people who watch the videos and ideally comment, but certainly watch it. To me, it's a bigger community than just saying the people who make the videos. And so it was certainly true that people who attended, sure, some of us made videos, but there was often a commonality in knowing names, and sometimes you get to know the faces. All that said, especially because of COVID, because of all kinds of things, the world has changed. Flosstube is still so important to me, but recognizing that there are plenty of stitchers where that aspect is not so important, but community is. And I basically felt like I had to keep the name last year because, I'd canceled it 2 years in a row, what it called, but I knew that it was one piece that I did want to change. And so I've changed it officially to be Stitch NJ, and that'll be the plan going forward. Speaking of going forward, again, one of those little things to get right out of the way. From the beginning, I'm going to start talking. You may have already heard other people talking about this retreat. If you attended, wonderful, great. If you're somebody who's listening and saying, hey, I want to do that. I live close. I have that time of year, whatever. How do I find out about next year? Simply put, there's nothing to find out about next year, no details, nothing has been confirmed or anything. However, down below, there is a link to a Google form, and all that is giving me your name and email address so that when I do have information to share, you will get an email. And that's the easy, simple way when people have asked me. It's just like, give me your email and you'll know when there's something to know. It is not a wait list. It is not a sign-up list. It is simply a way for me to send you information when we are ready to have a wait list and a sign-up list and all that. Okay, so I have, since the very beginning, each of my retreats, designed a logo. And this year, I learned so much from each retreat from year to year. I try to learn and improve. One thing is to make the logo a little smaller. So Stitch NJ. I stitched two versions of this. One, as you can see, in monochrome, one in colors. Talk more about the colors in a moment. This is stitched on 28 count. This is stitched on 32 count. You can see this, you could see that there's a difference. And I'll talk more about all of that in a moment, but I'm just starting by sharing with you the logo. Everyone got a copy of the pattern. I know there are some people I saw a couple people who were stitching it at the retreat, and I've started watching some of the videos that people have put out. I'll try to link below the ones that I have found, the retreat recap videos that I've found as of the point that I'm filming right now. There clearly might be more coming, but it's a souvenir. And I remember a long time ago, I was visiting a friend and we went to a museum that was having a large exhibit at that time. The exhibit, it doesn't matter, this is the point. We had this great conversation about this special exhibit, and I was torn because I didn't really like the art that was on display so much as I liked the story and I liked the whole thing. And I realized I wanted to get the catalog, like the big heavy coffee table book. And yet I was like going back and forth, and my friend said, well, the word souvenir comes from the French, however you would pronounce it, souvenir, which means to remember. And a souvenir is a way to remember something. And for me, having that coffee table book is remember being there with my friend and the conversations we had. And even to open up to certain pages and look at a particular thing and say, yeah, we talked a lot about that one. So the idea of a souvenir from something that is important to you, and make it a little bit stitch related, why not? So if some people were so inclined, they stitched or were stitching or may still stitch this logo. Some logistics. This was held at the Hampton Inn in Woodbridge, New Jersey. I would say central New Jersey, but people say I live in central New Jersey, north of me, not too far from Newark Airport, which made it great for people who were flying in. We had attendees from 22 different states, as well as some folks that came down from Canada and a woman who came from the UK. So it was just a phenomenal meeting of about 100 stitchers. Just to give some perspective, I don't know if I ever shared this at any point during the weekend, about 65, kind of varied, percent of the people, which is to say about 65 people, were those who had who came last year. Just that pure statistic. And that meant 35, almost 40 people had not come last year. So just so you know, while yes, some of these retreats, you feel like, oh, how could I ever go? Because everyone already knows each other. No, they don't. And that's just, it's so much fun to meet people. Maybe someone you have seen on Instagram, on Flosstube, to meet in person. Maybe someone you had no idea who they are. And all of a sudden, you have a new stitching friend. It was July 13th through the 16th, so Thursday to Sunday. I opened the doors at 3 p.m. on Thursday, so there was stitching for the rest of the day on Thursday, all day Friday, all day Saturday, Sunday. I think the official closing time I put on the paper was 4 p.m. There were some diehards that were still lingering on after that, which was fine. Unfortunately, the weather was really crazy on Sunday, Saturday as well as Sunday, downpour rain. Crazy stuff that, especially those who were flying, there was cancellations and delays. Those who were driving wanted to get on the road at a certain point, depending which direction they were headed. And the way I look at it is, if there has to be lousy weather surrounding any travel, isn't it better that it's on the way home as opposed to the way there? So anyway, those are the logistics. Now, that logo that I mentioned is going to show up multiple times in this video because everybody received a bag. Stitch NJ 2023 bag. I take a lot of pride in putting together this, in particular, this piece. And, you know, I'll just say it like this. I'm somebody who, okay, I could be cheap. I could be frugal at times. And I like getting a bang for my buck, so to speak. And that's a very, very general thing. But for me, not only is important to provide I'm hoping, a wonderful atmosphere for a few days, but to also feel like you can take away something that ideally you have pieces or all of it that you will use, or if nothing else, a souvenir. So this year's bag, when I first tried to make the decision, I was like, is this too big? And I'm like, you know what? If it's a big bag for the retreat, so what? That means it's more, to me, means it's more likely to get use after the retreat. Because I didn't want to, frankly, hand out some cheap bag that is just going to get thrown in a pile when you get home. So this is a nice canvas bag that I'm hoping lots of people are getting good use out of. And in here are a bunch of goodies. So I gave everybody a Stitch NJ travel mug. There were definitely people who were using this at the retreat. I was not. Anyway, there were definitely people who were using this at the retreat. And what I'm going to show you are sort of the things that everybody got. I handed out an attendee list, which I think a lot of people really appreciated, just as a sense of who they were, where they're from, Instagram and Flosstube, if they had it, just a way to kind of know who was there. As well as I mentioned, there was the pattern for the logo if you wanted to stitch it. And everyone had a name tag. I've sent this to multiple people already. So last year, after the retreat, I had put together a survey. I wanted some feedback. It started with me wanting feedback on a couple specific things, and I'm like, well, if I'm going to do this, go ask other things. And so what came from that, a lot of good information, a lot of data. I'm a data collector person. But there was also a whole lot of, any other ideas, future thoughts, whatever. And there were a couple of ideas that were definitely great that I used this year. And one of them was double-sided name tags. Because usually when you have something that looks like this, you are wearing this on your neck, and half the time it does this, and you're talking to somebody and you're like, I want to see who you are. Somebody suggested, I don't know because the feedback form was anonymous, but whoever that was, brilliant. So for me, I had the logistics way to do it is to print two of them and to put them back to back. But this is a case where the little things, to me anyway, make a big difference. And maybe no one else thought twice about it, or only the people I really kind of was saying something to. But to me, it was that little extra that helped me personally as I was trying to chat with as many people as I could. When you run a retreat and you're thinking about the next things ahead, as I had various events and stuff going on, I certainly didn't get to chat as much as I wanted to around the room. I had a few opportunities to do that, especially when I was trying to sell raffle tickets. More of that in a moment. But it was nice to be able to see who I was talking to. And then, let's make sure, because I have other things in this bag that I didn't necessarily think. Okay. So, I have this wonderful group of stitching friends, mostly local, but some of us are not so super, super local. I couldn't have done the retreat without them. So this is a very public thank you, as much as I was trying to thank them in the moment, getting the group of 100 stitchers to realize that, in some respects it does take a village. And we were together a few weeks back, so to create a huge assembly line to assemble these bags. And yes, could I assemble 100 bags with everything I'm about to show you on my own? Sure. How long would it have taken me? The last pieces that I was doing on my own, I had all the bags laid out. I needed to put in the retreat pattern, the attendee list, the name tag, and put a label on the bag, because then you have 100 people with identical bags. Isn't this a useful idea? And just doing that piece alone, particularly because of the name tag and being careful and getting everyone their own bag, took me almost, I think it took about 2 hours. And imagine if I was also doing all of what I'm about to show you. So thanks to one of my wonderful stitching friends, Megan, we have official project envelopes. I think many stitchers are familiar with these, with Stitch NJ on it right here. Inside are all kinds of goodies of various kinds. There was, I had a donation, wonderful donation from Kreinik. Everybody got silk. I think some people look at Kreinik and think, oh, it's the metallic stuff. And I know some stitchers don't like Kreinik metallic, which is fine. But it's nice that they were giving silk this year to have some people say, wow, I've never known they even had silk. Let me give this a try. As well as the information about colors and so on. So thank you to Kreinik for providing that. Weeks sent 2 threads for everybody, and everyone got, the Kreinik colors all were just different. They were just whatever they were. Everyone got the same Weeks colors. So there's Oscar, greenish, and roasted figs, like a brownish orangish. So thank you to Weeks for sending those. Treenway Silks, Susan, who I got to know because of the Tea Time project that was put together, where a whole bunch of designers designed around the theme of tea. When I wrote to her and she offered to send something for everyone, just how amazing this is. So to send these 2 silks, everyone got the same color silks for everybody, which is just wonderful. Now, does the color look familiar? So, at the point that I was receiving these threads from the companies, I had designed the logo. I think I already had the bags and everything in the works. I had not yet stitched it myself. And I purposely held off because I wondered what threads I was going to get in terms of something that everyone would receive. It is not like I'm expecting every person to go home or to be at this retreat stitching this logo. And even if they were, would they like the colors I chose? No. But when I opened the box from Susan Treenway and I saw this color, which, yeah, it's coming across pretty. It's a blue violet. And I'm like, oh my God, she could not have picked a better color that matches up with my color interests. And so it was an immediate, I want to stitch this right away. I want to stitch that logo with this. But I also wanted to use the other threads. And I had originally, consciously in my mind, was designing this to fit on the tin, which I'll get to in a moment. And I designed a 32 count. And then I realized, something that would fit 32 count. I was, But somebody who wants to stitch, who's more of a 28 or a 14 count Aida person, would it fit? And it does. You know, it's a little tighter than it is on the 32 count. And I thought, perfect. I'll stitch 2 versions of it. It's small. It was quick to stitch. So one version was the monochrome. That was the 28 count using this thread. And the 32 count, you can see the violet blue thread here. You can also see the 2 weeks in here. The white thread, I mixed, sort of a one strand of each to help it show up on the fabric. And there needed to be another color to help balance it. So I pulled the pink Treenway silk that was part of the Tea Time palette. This was stitched, it's such a small piece, but it's hard to see, on a retreat exclusive fabric that Jim, he's now hand dyes by Jim, but Needleworker's Delight, I'll get more to vending in a moment, had developed this color fabric, which again, it's so small in here and it's coming off awfully yellow, and it is not as yellow as you're seeing it right now. All right, back to the bag. So these threads, very generous from everybody. Everyone got a Works by ABC pen. I've talked about these before. I was handing them out at Nashville. There's a couple little beads. It provides endless entertainment to try and get the little beads from one end to the other. Everybody, thanks to the generosity of one of my Stitch Group friends, she had lots of fabric and had this idea. Stitchers often need little pieces of fabric for finishing, for little pillows and so on. So she generously donated, these are about 12-inch by 12-inch squares of all different kinds of fabric. Some fabric uses, backing of a pin pillow, backing of an ornament, great for covering buttons, enjoy. So it was just a fun little, and like, especially I'm looking at this right here, and I could so see this This is the kind of fabric what you're seeing available in the blue right now. There's others in this. I think everyone got 5 different fabrics. Oh, even like this. I like the small print stuff when it comes to like the backing of a pillow. Anyway, thank you, Regina, for that piece. Talk about that in a moment. So everyone got a clapper. I know I did this last year and it was not out of the blue. I had not done it previously. It was an idea that I had. I know at some retreats there is some way to acknowledge a finish in the room. Whether, it starts at the person's table and there might be some clapping or there's a lot of bell ringing out there. And I wanted to have something that was my own, Stitch NJ's own. And so last year, that I didn't tell anyone, like none of my Stitch Group friends or anything. I added these in afterwards. And I remember just hoping that this was going to work. And so attached to it was a piece of paper. It says, have a finish, someone at your table have a finish, or someone in the room, give a round of applause. And what I loved is that, so someone would have a finish, they might say it to their table, oh, it's a finish. The table would start doing this, and then that's all it took for other tables. And you had a room full of people clapping, which I just loved. And so those who were here, those who had come last year knew about this. Those who were new jumped right in. And starting on Thursday night, there was a finish, and the clappers were out. And this was sort of just so like, it made me happy to have come up with something like this that really worked, Everybody got 3 free raffle tickets. I'll talk more about the raffle in a moment, but it was important to me because there was plenty of opportunity to purchase. That was the whole idea. It was a fundraiser. But yet it was important that everyone had the opportunity to win. So everyone got 3 free ones. Everyone got a piece of a waxer. So now getting into some of the handmade stuff. Members of my Stitch group, particularly Barbara, are incredibly creative and crafty. And so, as you can see so far, some of these items have been purchased, like an envelope, like a clapper, and a mug, a bag itself. Some of them have been donated, like the threads from the companies. And there's some things that have been handmade. And I know, if you're giving handmade things, if you're giving stitching, we're stitchers, at least I'm assuming you're a stitcher if you're watching this, we appreciate things that are crafted by hand. So for this year, I had this idea of giving everybody a tin. You could see the size of it. It's like slightly bigger than like an Altoid tin. And a lot of people carry something like this in their stitching bag, and it just holds the stuff they use. So we put together a tin of fun things. So in here, everyone got a scissor fob that said Stitch NJ 2023. Everyone got a needle minder, which, because it's a metal tin, sticks right there. These were made by Shelby of Scarlet Sky Designs. She is amazing. I will link her below. When I sent her the logo to use, you just easily could just been a nice oval thing, but look at the level of detail she put in this. So I love it. And I love that I have a few of the extras. So, because like every project I have right now, there's 2 of them here, there's 1 down there. You're going to see 1 on anyway. So I love these. I love the size. I love thank you, Shelby, for doing that. In here was a needle book that, this is such a simple, important thing to have, where to put your needles. And look at these beautiful counting pins that were created by both Barbara and Teresa from my group. Little flowers, butterflies. They're just like so pretty. I have found more and more times where I actually have used counting pins, maybe not for the exact reason of counting things, but I do keep, like there's a pin cushion right over there that I keep some pins, probably from a previous retreat. There's one I have downstairs where I mostly stitch, and I definitely need to add some of the flowers to that. Also in the tin was a little pair of these scissors. Many people have seen these. They are excellent for cutting threads, and the cover, the protector cover, it's like a rubber thing, stays attached, so you'll never lose it. Everyone got a needle threader. I don't use needle threaders, but this was suggested by a couple members of my group saying this worked incredibly well, so why not give everyone something to try? Talking about the craftiness again, Kathy from my group made for everybody a corner gauge, Stitch NJ logo right there. And everyone also got a pin cushion. And there's a magnet so it can stay right there. So, you know, you're in the middle of your stitching at a retreat, let's say, and you want to kind of keep a counting pin handy or keep a needle handy or a few needles, pin cushion right there. And like I said, it will all stay together. Now I'm going to put all these things back. So I loved that we, and I say we because my stitching group helped make this kind of thing happen, we were able to give everybody this, well, everything you've seen here. And I think that is it for the bag and the contents. Again, it was important to me to share. I mean, it's not quite show people they get what they paid for financially wise. I mean, I'm glad that, you know, this is how I budgeted the retreat, that some of the money that was part of the registration fee was to give a great goodie bag. You know, I struggle with the name. I know the name swag bag gets used. I know the name goodie bag gets used, and neither of those feel right to me. So call it what you want. Everyone, I think, got some pretty cool stuff in their bags. Plus, what I'm hoping is a good bag that will get lots of use after this. Okay, I have these notes. I have sitting in this bag some of the things that folks around the room were sharing with one another. And if you are watching other Flosstube videos, I'll be honest, I wasn't at my seat very often, so there could have been other things that were shared. Oh, and here's another one. So, for example, Snickerdoodle Stitch went around, gave everybody a needle minder, which was awesome. The Boss Stitchers gave everybody beads. You know, you'll see a project in a moment that involves beads, with the additional fun thing of, in one of these little tubes around the room, somebody had, what was it, a gold star, a green star, had something special. And if you got the tube with that something special, you won an extra prize. I was told they did this at StitchCon as well, so you may be familiar with it, but that was a lot of fun. And it gave them a specific time or to go around and ideally see everybody or meet everybody or just have those few seconds of conversation. And for that alone, what a great idea this is. Jessie Marie from Does Stuff had floss tags. Sorry, words are difficult. With this beautiful image of the gazebo at Virginia Tech where she got married. I think I have that right, but cherry blossoms, just love it. Kathy, part of my stitch group, who made the corner gauges, also gave everybody stickers to acknowledge your whips, your starts, your finish. And this New Jersey sticker where she put the star is approximately where the retreat took place in Woodbridge. There may be other things in this bag in that vein. And like I said, I know there was, if you're watching other people's videos, sometimes there were gifts exchanged just at your table. And if somebody was trying to give things or, use the idea of giving a needle minder or whatever to somebody to have an opportunity to have a conversation, which is a great idea. I was running around so much, so I didn't always have those kinds of opportunities. But anyone who was sharing in any kind of way, a huge thank you. The retreat really went so well. The hotel was sort of the right size for this event, meaning it was not a large hotel. It basically had one large room, like where we had the stitching room, and about 100 people is about the limit that we could have in there, given the other tables and things that are around the room. So it's not like we were interacting with a wedding going on down the hall there and whatever in different places. No, it was basically just us. I mean, there were other people staying at the hotel, but we were the main event going on there. There are two smaller rooms, and all right, let me jump in. The next section on my little notes here is about events. So for the first time this year, I had vendors. There are two smaller rooms that were down the hall from this main room. I mean, that's the extent of what this Hampton Inn has. And a Hampton Inn, as I have researched, is not does not typically have a room like the stitching room, a room that I believe it's fire coded for like 140. So my 110 number comes from the fact about 75% fire code, because we also have a whole lot of other stuff in the room. But Hampton Inn is not necessarily a chain of hotels that has a room like that, so it's perfect for us. It is not uncommon to find what these smaller rooms, and they have two of them. So in one of them on Friday and Saturday was Jim. Needleworker's Delight was the store that, frankly, when my first retreat in 2018, there was also a piece of, I can do the organizing, and people have started to find me on Flosstube, but also being near a big LNS was a draw. There's no doubt about that. All kinds of things change and evolve, and COVID and all of that. Did close the physical store a few months ago. The landlord dramatically raised the rent because he was basically trying to kick tenants out, so that he could change it over to more of a medical building. And Jim is in this in-between time of he's planning to open another physical location, but he's taking some time to find the right place. So how perfect was the timing of this to say, hey, there's a room down the hall. You could come do a pop-up shop, which he did. So I know there was a lot of appreciation to have shopping opportunity right there in the hotel, especially like all day on Saturday when it was pouring rain at various times, just to be able to walk down the hall. So Jim was there on Friday and Saturday. And then the other room I used just on Saturday for our Stitch NJ vendors. And it was nice. Most were retreat attendees, but I had a couple from outside retreat attendees who now want to be retreat attendees next year, giving an opportunity to sell project bags and needle minders, and I'm blanking right now on a whole bunch of other things, project rolls, patterns. I had a table of my Works by ABC patterns. Grace Newt's Fabric came and set up a table, and that was very popular to have their fabrics right there. Forgetting other details, but so then have that second shopping opportunity on Saturday was a lot of fun. Other events that happened on Friday night, I did a pizza party, so part of your registration fee went to having pizza on Friday night. There was also something that was done last year but adapted for this year, was 3 and 3. And this was purely if you wanted to participate. It was not a contest. There were no rules. There was no winner. But the idea of working on 3 projects in 3 hours, with some people saying 3 starts in 3 hours, others just wanting to work on 3 whips or 3 whatevers. So on Friday night at 8, 9, and 10 or thereabouts, I was basically saying, go, giving some heads up, and at the end of an hour, done. And I know some people had really enjoyed it. In the post-retreat feedback form this year, I actually have some data. I was surprised. I didn't realize as many people participated in it as did, which was great. Some people just appreciated somebody else timing them. Counting how many so they can count how many stitches. One really amusing piece to me, it had been posted some time back, this idea of having a sow that starts Dutch Beauty, which also has this, is it from Holland? I forget the whole name, but people refer to it as Dutch Beauty. It's like 600 by 400 stitches. It's like one of those giant lifetime kinds of things. So it was out, somebody posted, hey, me and this other person, we're going to do this. Anyone want to join in? And so the 8 o'clock, the first hour of the 3 and 3, anyone who was doing it, stitch on Dutch Beauty. And then we took a picture of those people afterwards. You can find it on my Instagram. Everyone holding up this giant piece of fabric, which you can't even see where their start is. Is that me to stitch on that? No. Is it me to really appreciate, enjoy, and get a good laugh out of it? Absolutely. So I love that spirit, that camaraderie that happens at retreats and around this particular event. Lots of people did not start it. It was just sort of a fun thing. I think there were maybe 8 people in that picture. So I said vendors were new this year. Another piece that was new was playing left, right, center on Saturday afternoon. It was a suggestion by someone that they had done it before using thread. Left, right, center, which I had never heard of before, is a simple dice game, and it can be played, let's say, with dollar bills or with quarters or whatever. And in the end, one person wins all the things. So everyone comes with three, whether it's 3/4 or 3 pennies or three whatever. And so for us to play, everyone brought 3 floss. And at the table, in the end, one person would win. It was fun. I learned what it was all about. I have some people really enjoyed it. Have some suggestions already for next year how to improve it. But again, a new piece, and I loved it. Saturday night, we had a smalls exchange. There was about 25 people who participated. And if you've never done or know about a smalls exchange, basically anyone who wants to participate stitches a small, like a pillow or an ornament or whatever you want to consider small, wraps it up, puts it on a table. Everyone who's participating gets a number. Randomly, the numbers are called. That person gets to go up and choose any of the wrapped gifts that you see. Go through until everyone has picked one, and then in the end, then you go and you find the person who received the one you stitched, and you find the person who stitched the one you received, and it's just another opportunity to connect and interact with other stitchers. Right after that, we had the raffle table winners announcements, whatever you want to say. So this was a pretty important piece for me that I definitely did in 2019 for the first time, and last year, and building it even more, to make a fundraiser and to go to Save, which is a local no-kill animal shelter, a local charity that really could use the money. So I did a lot of work in writing to companies, thread companies, fabric companies, anyone I could think of that stitchers would like, looking for donations. I had friends reaching out to their own connections looking for donations. I had a number of attendees bring things for donations. We ended up with 96 items on the raffle table. Now, keep in mind, if a thread company sent enough thread that I had 4 identical little baggies, that counts as 4, but 96 items. And it was just phenomenal how much people got into it, which I loved. And the variety of stuff that was on the table, from project bags to, like I said, threads and fabric. I'm blanking. A whole bunch of stuff. Again, look at pictures on IG, including an amazing donation of a handmade queen size quilt, and that was phenomenal. So it was thrilling to me to go over to Save just 2 days ago and hand the director a check for $3,650. And that's $1 raffle tickets, people, or 6 for $5. So most people were purchasing them in $5 increments. $3,650. The stitchers there were incredibly generous, and they wanted to win some good stuff as well. I've learned, certainly in my conversation with her last year, and even more so this year, summer is a hard time for animal shelters. I mean, I'm sure different times of year are harder on all kinds of charities, but to be specific, it's just not a time of year that a lot of people think about donations to charities. It's, the holiday time. You give money at that, and it's not a time of year where a lot of people are thinking about adopting dogs and cats. There's vacations. There's all kinds of different routines. Let's wait until the school year starts. We got a routine going. Then we'll add in a pet. So they're a very full shelter with low funds, and the check I brought them will literally help them get through August. And it's just wonderful for them. I mean, she was just grinning. She was just so excited. She remembered my visit from last year. And when somebody said, "There's someone named Arlene here to see you with a large donation," she literally came running like down the hall where the lobby was, which was just wonderful. So I was so glad that through all the generosity and kindness of stitchers in general that was shared throughout that retreat, this financial piece of generosity of stitchers has really gone to make a difference. And I'm so glad I have this fundraiser piece as a part of the retreat. So the raffle, I'm looking at my notes and I'm just finding something I skipped, which I'll come back to. So again, the raffle was a huge important part. Let me say this before I forgot. Back to the bag contents, the tin, if you so chose to, I was trying to prove that you could use fabric on 28 count, 32 count, certainly smaller, to add on the tins. It's the size of the tin, not that you need to use the tin that way. And I did just want to share, so this is DMC. I made cording from a DMC color that basically match the roasted figs of, or close game, roasted figs of the weeks. I was in Michael's looking for, I think it was a 333 or 3746, whatever color was fairly close, DMC, because that's, it takes a whole thing of thread to make the cording, to match this. And I just, I picked up and just on the aisle in my Michael's where the DMC is over here, the yarn begins over here. And just out of the corner of my eye, I spotted this, which was the color. And I started thinking, can you make cording out of yarn? Yeah, you can. And so I just wanted to, this is what I wrote, to share living proof. If you are looking to make cording, if you have one of those little cording things, open your mind to what you can use, because I made this cording out of yarn, out of this color yarn. It's a beautiful bamboo rayon, 100% rayon from bamboo, the color. Okay, so I just wanted to share that little insight that I had never really thought before of things beyond, DMC or pearl cotton to make cording from, but certainly yarn works. Back to the retreat. So, typical of a lot of retreats, there was a brag table. People brought some of the most beautiful stitching, and it really was just a sharing opportunity. I had Post-it notes out so you could write, who stitched it and the designer and any information that was worth sharing. I had sitting on the brag table something that I meant to go back and look. I'm pretty sure in my last video I shared it as a finish, but now it is an FFO, the rose. And part of the story of this is that it stemmed from the retreat last year. Danielle Stitcherisa had talked on her video about, it was a magazine she found on the freebie table, I'll get to that in a moment, and how much she remembered this particular rose that was on the front cover from years ago. She was glad to have the magazine. She probably won't stitch it. Long story short, I made a joke about, well, why don't you just stitch it on 40 count silk gauze, which if you know Danielle at all, that is not what she stitches on. And then I convinced myself, well, I think I might do it. And so I did. I wanted to definitely share with you the finishing. This is, I'll put them below, Advanced Craft Making Solutions, ACMS, do these hoop finishes. This is, I'm going to take off the back. It's in a hoop. And I didn't even do anything. I didn't even sew this down. Put it in a hoop, the hoop that actually comes with the frame. Put that in there. Look how there's like a cutout spot for the screw area. Put this on, flip the little, turny things. Boom, a finish in a frame. So I love their work, and I just wanted to share with you, this was not on the brag table, but the same time I was ordering this frame, I ordered a couple of others, including, finally, getting a frame for this guy. This was one of my early lace pieces that I stitched, and it was on the cover of Just Cross Stitch magazine. This magazine is the only place to get the pattern. It is not a pattern that I own, basically, because I, in effect, sold it to Just Cross Stitch. So this is the August 2019 issue. They sent me back the stitching. They had taken it off the box that they had FFO'd it on, and I just had this fabric thing hanging around, and finally I have it in a hoop frame, and I'm going to get this more on display in my home, which I'm glad I finally did that. The other thing I put on the brag table, I think I shared last time, this, you all must think I only stitch on 40 count silk gauze, which I don't, okay? But I created my own little art museum here. This little plastic stand meant for, what are the sizes here? 1.5 inch by 2 inch pictures. I realized would be a great way. I had stitched the Van Gogh Starry Night and the Icarus from Matisse, and because there was 3, I needed to stitch up a third one, and so I chose Woman with Parasol, Claude Monet, and I have my little mini museum here. I'll put the link below to the woman who makes these patterns. They're about 30 by 40 stitches, and they're adaptations of famous artwork, so obviously you don't have the level of detail, but certainly enough to get, if you're familiar with those paintings, to see what it's all about. And I love it. So, and where else but a stitching retreat could you share your little mini art museum that you've stitched? There was a freebie table. I've already seen on video some amazing things people have picked up. I did not get much of anything. Again, there was a lot of working behind the scenes. I did get a little stitching done. I'll share that. I did just want to share, basically, there's only a couple things I picked up, and I wanted to share this one. If you're not familiar with me, I also do bobbin lace. I haven't talked about that in a long time. This is an Artisy, this company, a lace maker, and it's an adaptation of this work. Colette, the highway stitcher, is stitching on it. She is also a lace maker. And I was just looking on her IG to find where she is, and it seems like it's a full coverage piece. It's not a hate, because it's not a heaven and earth design. But yeah, take a look at that pattern. I don't know who put this on there. I will not stitch the whole thing. That does not appeal to me. I was looking to see, how big would it be to just stitch her, in the surrounding area, which I may do also. But when I was looking more into it, I found places online where you could just buy a nice print, and obviously this is black and white. It really is a beautiful print. So this was just sort of a fun find that I found. But like I said, it wasn't really something I spent much time at looking at the freebie table. But I know there were lots of fun finds there. And that's the spirit of it. Somebody's trash is somebody else's treasure. And it's not that it's trash. It's something that somebody is done with or doesn't want or isn't going to use. Certainly can be loved, used by another stitcher. And that's what's great. And actually, nope, I don't want to get off track here. Keeping to my list. So, what did I stitch on when I was stitching? Well, number one, I wasn't stitching a whole lot. And I needed to bring things that truly would be no-brainer stitching. And so I had two things that I spent a bit of time on. And the first one, I've shared this before. Yes, I'm running what is basically a cross-stitching retreat. And what did I bring? A painted canvas for needlepoint. But this is almost done. All of these pieces are stitched. This border is basically Krynic thread that's been couched down. And it's like 3 strands, horizontal and vertical. And that couching down, you can't get any more non-thinking stitching than that. And so I brought this specifically to get that border done. Now, what is not done yet is the lotus flower. And you can see that I'm beading it. And, more than halfway. It is pretty tedious. It's what I've been working on since I came home. I do want to just get it done. So I just want to get it done. I also, as I look at this, I feel like it needs just something else to pull it together, some dark. Like the gold border, to me, at least at this time, I feel like it needs something else. So I was testing out 2 different things. This right here is the same thread that is used for the words. It's like a very, very dark gray. This right here is a dark brown, a little bit more on this side. At this moment, both of those look too dark to me. So I think I need to go, and I wanted like a shiny metallic, so I have both some rainbow gallery threads and some other Krynics. I need to dig into those bags, see if I can find something that is the dark that I'm looking for to help pull this together without being stark dark, whatever. So I was stitching on this logo, needle minder right here. And then when I did complete the border, which was like Sunday morning, again, barely stitching, it was time to take out the oldie but goodie Color Thesaurus. This is, there's not been a retreat that I've been to where this has not come out to be stitched. It's almost like, this was a design, one of my earliest works by ABC Designs. And I'd put it out there, without having stitched a model, just the computer generated picture. But I knew it was something that I wanted to stitch. And my first, I know I stitched on it during my first retreat in 2018, and it's traveled with me to the retreats I've gone to. It is only something I work on when I need literally no-brainer stitching. And so I took it out, I stitched so the word juniper was already in there. I had about 1/4 of the green stitches in, and on Sunday, late at night, or not that late, but I finished stitching the juniper. And that's the extent of work that the Color Thesaurus got while at the retreat. And if you're looking at this saying, oh, Arlene, you're almost done. No, I'm not. The whole thing is intended, it is 81 colors. So it's 9 different color families, 9 words that go with each color. So for example, the green, I have green, sage, lime, fern, olive, emerald, pine, juniper, and basil, and 9 different greens of DMC. So you can see I still need to get through yellow, orange, brown, and gray, which to me are not exactly the fun colors. So it'll be a push, but I got to do this. I got to. Although if I ever do finish it, it'll sort of be like, what do I bring to a retreat now? I remember I was working on this for a few days, like right after I moved, just because unpacking boxes and making decisions all day long, and talk about needing no-brainer stitching. So, that will be forever a project. Well, ideally, at some point it'll get finished. I am going to my first retreat that I have not organized myself since October of 2019. In just a few weeks, the Grace Notes fabric people, Corinne and John, are putting on a retreat that is in Allentown or thereabouts, Pennsylvania, so certainly a driving distance from me. And what I remember about the retreat I went to, it was in Virginia in October of 2019, was like, I don't know what to do with myself. I'm supposed to just sit here and stitch because I was used to this idea of thinking what was coming next. So some of that might happen next, whenever it is, 3 weeks from now. It is also fun to say in the cleanup of the freebie table, I, got rid of the things that really weren't of any use. But I have a huge pile of leftovers that I'm bringing to the Grace Notes retreat freebie table because it's like past the stash on a retreat level, which I think is a lot of fun. So, whoa, this was way longer than I thought it would be. But when you do something that truly is so important to me, this idea that brings stitchers together in a way that I know they're enjoying, what I can give to the community, became all encompassing, sort of the prep work and everything, particularly in the last couple of weeks leading up to it, but doing what I loved. And it's almost like struggling this week and what do I do now? And trust me, I have a plenty long to-do list, both stitching and non-stitching related, but there is an emptiness in knowing that Stitch NJ 2023 is over. But lots of good stitching to look forward to in all kinds of ways. Coming up at the end of August is going to be the Needlework Marketplace, which is an online wholesale opportunity. And probably the next time, today's the 22nd, when I come back in a few weeks, it will be a reveal of my new designs that'll be out then. So thank you so much for being here, especially because you're adding hours to my numbers to help deal with those stupid commercials. And just enjoying being here with you all. It means a lot to me. As always, I appreciate the likes and the comments to help with the whole YouTube algorithm. I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time. Bye.